got home at 4 in the morning last night. Good morning, because yesterday was a long day. Welcome to the Freedom Coffee live stream, where we celebrate the freedoms that we have and work on expanding our freedoms in the future. And I think there's a lot of good things that are coming down the pipeline. And despite the fact that yesterday was just an awful day. I mean, awful. It's like, I'll give an example. So I go to do a run to, this is the life, the trucking life. So I go to do a run to, where did I go? Oh, just outside Philadelphia. And I'm over on my oil change. I needed an oil change for a while, and for a little while, like 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers ago. And, but things are busy. I have this, I have so many other projects in my life. Like, it's just so busy, and I had no time, and I kept getting home late. And I called my mechanic was busy and all that sort of stuff. So I go to get an oil change on the way to Philly. What happens? I get a call, like just before the border, from the oil change company saying, hey, brother, where are you? I'm like, what do you mean, where am I? In my truck. He said, oh, we forgot to put the cap on your oil. I'm like, oh, for freak's sakes. So that ended up being an hour. And so I ended up getting very late. I was late in arriving in Philly. And then the next morning, it was just problem after problem after problem. The email didn't work. I couldn't log into my ELD. All these things added hour after hour. The customs documents were received late from the broker. So then they weren't clear when I got to the border. So I get to the border at like, I don't know, later than usual. I got there, 8 o'clock at night? And then they're like, oh, you're not cleared to enter. Great. So I go into customs. 2 hours to get my load cleared. By the way, this happens to truckers often. And after 2 hours, they said, oh, yeah, hey, now we need to inspect the load. You couldn't have done that for the 2 hours I was here. So it was a very, very long night by the time I dropped everything. Oh, and then I get to the yard where I dropped the truck off. And not only is there no space to park, but it's so loaded, all the laneways are overloaded, like full of trucks, that I went into the normal way that you would go to park your truck, and then I got stuck and I couldn't back out because there's so many trucks and trailers, and it was just whatever. That ended up being another hour trying to figure out how to angle my trailer so I can unhook and then sneak out and leave. And anyways, trucker life. Good morning, everybody. So that's why for me today, I still woke up initially at 6 o'clock, but then very quickly crashed again and got up a few hours ago. So good morning to all of you. And despite all of those things, it's funny. When I learned about positive reframing, I don't know, a decade ago, 15 years ago, when I did a deep dive into this stuff, when I was a kid or was younger, when you get angry, you get really, really angry. Last night I was frustrated, but not angry, because you learn to kind of, that's part of the 5-minute journal, which I've walked through with you guys, of resetting yourself, focusing on gratitude, focusing on all the good things that make your life amazing, and for us to realize how amazing all our lives are. And those little bumps in the road of, all right, it was a trip, it was annoying, but here we are together. And as always, it looks like, is that you, Beth? Are you the first one? Of course, Beth is the first one to log on Locals. Thank you, honkingforfreedom.locals.com. If you're on TikTok, which we're streaming here until TikTok gets banned, you can watch on on Locals, honkingforfreedom.locals.com, or on YouTube, and I think it's to the Honking For Freedom Twitter account as well, if I'm not mistaken. Good reason to stay home. All right, so your comments. Good afternoon. BJ, Chad's Twitter reveals have been very enlightening. The truth always wins. Yeah, the truth always does win. See, all that time that Dichter was telling you stuff, now that you realize there's other people coming up with receipts to confirm everything that I was saying, I'm not so bad. Maybe I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I was being genuine and honest with all of you the entire time, and it's nice to see that people are starting to realize that's the case. Paul, a clusterfuck of a day. It was crazy. That was the worst trip I've ever had by far. It was the worst part was trying to email my customs documents for, I don't know, 4 hours. I kept going to different throughways, trying to get maybe if I get their Wi-Fi, but then half the throughways are under construction in the U.S. Like it was everything that could go wrong could go wrong. That's why I always try to systematize and have backups for everything whenever possible, but that's not always the case. So good morning to all of you. Amanda, it's good to see you too. Good morning, dear. And wishing you safe travel homes. Well, I'm already home. I'm home now. And okay. Good afternoon, Amanda. Rainy day here for me. All the snow is quickly melting. It's so sad. I don't know if that's sad. You know, yesterday in Philly, it was 20 degrees. And I posted a thing on Twitter that a couple of people got upset over. That, you know, maybe if I'm not incorrect, that global warming would mean that there's more arable land, therefore more food and less poverty and hunger. So maybe we just have to figure out a way to brand this in a positive light, right? Because the lefties always brand us, or the leftists, let's say the activists, always brand their opposition in a negative light, and we always allow them to take, you know, the positive words, like progressive. To progress is a positive word. It's in the root of the word. And we define them by a positive word. That needs to stop. I mean, I personally like communist thugs, but, you know, that's just my preference. Everything happens wrong at once. Well, you know, like all of those things, doesn't that happen to you every time you sit down to do a live stream? It's usually my printer when it's the live stream. That's usually the part that makes it. And, you know, I'm always thinking about things I want to add and talk about, and I always push it a little too far. I know that, but again, I promised you this would be rough, and it's rough, right? Good morning, Avril, who has an awesome avatar. Claudette, it's good morning to you too. K9, and look, all these comments coming up. All right, Hitchhiker, what's up, brother? And I'm no DJ Productions. Hello, everyone. What's up? And Angie, what is everybody's celebrating? What is Claudette? What happened? I usually have to watch it later. But, okay. Well, I'm glad you can watch live and participate in the live chat. And please put your comments in there, and I will get to them as much as I can. BJ, with more arable land, what's your preferred food? I don't know. You know, it kind of depends. Like, I go in waves. When I was in Colombia last year, I was, from a friend, I was put on, like, full keto for 2 months, 3 months, basically, almost. I don't know. Asian food. As long as we can get more Chinese food, I'm happy. If more land gives them that, I'm on board. So that's just another data point in favor of global warming. And, you know, it's funny. I don't remember if it was the Cretaceous era, but there was a point when all land on the planet was tropical from the poles down. So the planet clearly survived, and we're very adaptable, as is human nature. Not human nature, but nature itself through processes of evolution. So what's everybody freaking out over? Like, okay, the planet, due to Milankovitch cycles, there's always fluctuations in global temperatures. Like, that's just a natural phenomenon. Are we adding to it? I don't know. I have no idea. I think we're still at the tail end of an ice age anyways. So if we're at the tail end of the ice age, then it would be logical that there would still be some changes in temperature, but whatever. I'm not going to get into that conversation. That's not my area of expertise. That's just my thesis, and I could be completely wrong, and I will admit that. All right, so today, this was an interesting week. Today, I really do hope, that this will be the last time, or one of the last times, that we have to talk about the Freedom Convoy, the collaborators and saboteurs and political actors and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to touch on it. I'm going to just touch on some stuff. I know there are other people who are doing research, which is great. I'd rather other people do the research, so you don't think you're reliant on my bias, that it's other people are doing it. That gives me plausible deniability to say, hey, look, it's not me. They're the ones doing the research and looking at the evidence, which is why it's interesting, Beth, that you mentioned Chad's Twitter handle, where he's posting emails and communications and all that sort of stuff. A lot of it I don't really know, because it was after March. So as of March, I was no longer on the board, but I got a really creepy text message about that, which I'm sure is going to come up sometime soon, which might be a problem for some lawyers who want to remain members of the bar. Anyways, so I want to touch on this Twitter space that happened a couple of days ago. It was not last night, the night before. It was a Twitter space hosted by Dave O. You can search him online. Good dude. And we're going to be doing a Twitter space in Spanish together, hopefully within the week, just to kind of commonality between people in Latin America and in Canada, and the similarities in terms of the geopolitical struggles that we have here and there, and that they're all the same. So it's Dave O and Joe Rampart. I call him Researcher Bob, but Bob, who was focusing on research during the convoy. And these people were running like 17-hour, 24-hour spaces during the Freedom Convoy. And I really got into them at the tail end because I was just so busy in the first couple of weeks of the Freedom Convoy. And I really only had a second to breathe, usually after like 11 o'clock at night. And then I started going into these spaces and got to know some of these people, great people. Well, more Asian food is okay. Good answer. Well, there you go. We all have our weaknesses, right? And I'm somehow a picky eater. I don't get how people get to that conclusion. But anyways, so they did a Twitter space and they hosted Andy Lee. Real Andy Lee is her Twitter account. I'm sure many of you know who Andy was. She was, I didn't know her until, never even heard of her until the Freedom Convoy. And I was told she was a journalist and like an independent journalist from out west that was coming to cover the convoy. And again, I was just so many other issues that I was dealing with. I do remember she popped up in the beginning when we were in Ottawa. And I remember one of the, thousands of communications that Tamara and I had. I just said, who is Andy Lee? It's like, because you don't know who is good, who is on your side or who is not, right? And we're always kind of looking for, okay, who are the political actors we got to be worried about? And because I didn't know who Andy was, I asked Tamara, and Tamara said, oh, no, she's a friend. She's a good friend. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I kind of left it at that. And Andy and I have spoken a number of times over the past year. So anyways, that's they did this Twitter space to get Andy's perspectives on the Freedom Convoy, and I can tell she was very torn on the inside, and it was very. But she was a good sport. She got some good questions, some softball questions, and some hard questions, which was great. Like, those are the types of. Personally, I like hard questions. If you've noticed, you saw me on Rebel News or a couple of the other smear merchants. And they'll ask me direct questions, and I answer directly back. And I think in a way that it's just, I'm not trying to be convincing. I'm just this is factually accurate, and try to make sure there's no loopholes for somebody to think, oh, but maybe it's a subjective interpretation. Like, I try to stick to being as objective as possible because I don't want to hear any doubt. I heard her through Mark Petroni. Yeah, that's right. There was. I don't know if they're still working together. I don't really. I'm friends with Mark, so I don't really ask what all their working relationships are. But anyways, So Andy, I didn't know this until the Twitter space that we had, but she was a candidate for the Maverick Party. Now, what is the Maverick Party? So, and this is for the liberals, so they can understand. I mean, I know they know this, even though they're trying to play it up. The Maverick Party is a fake party. It's a party that basically captured. Remember, there was Wexit, and that Wexit party got really well. The Wexit movement, which basically was the Parti Québécois for Alberta. That's all they were really doing, and that's why it's ironic that people freak out. But anyways, it is what it is. And by the way, I'm not part of Wexit. I want Canada to be united, including Quebec, with less BS. Like, I understand the grievances from people in the West, and I get it, and I understand what their grievances are, and they are correct. They are correct, and people are concerned about transfer payments and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm on board with that. So, but the Wexit Party or the Wexit movement grew very quickly, and then very quickly after, there were former conservatives who joined this thing and took it over. And once I saw they changed the name from Wexit to Maverick, then I realized, okay, it's not a real party, or it's not going to be a real party. Why? It was a lesson for all of you in marketing and branding. The number one expense in marketing, communications, advertising, the number one expense by a mile, by like 1,000x, is branding. That's the number one biggest expense in anything marketing. And it doesn't matter if it's a product, a service, it doesn't matter. This is universal. And what's an example of that? Well, Kleenex, right? Kleenex is a brand, but it's such a powerful brand that it's become the actual word that explains the product itself, right? Same things happen with Google. We don't say, go to a search engine, don't go to Alta Vista or to DuckDuckGo. People say Google, even if they're not Googling. So that sort of branding costs tens of millions of dollars. Wexit got it for free. It got it for free just because the branding works. It's simple. And when you have simple, clever branding like that, people just jump on it and they begin to become your marketing department. And essentially, your average person keeps pumping the brand over and over, and the branding exercise goes parabolic, and that's how you get familiar with it. So as soon as they stepped in and said, okay, we're changing it from Wexit to Maverick, I'm like, oh, okay, they're just taken over by some people who are sabotaging it. Okay, fine. It is what it is, right? That's not my business. I don't really care. But anyways, so Andy Lee, and I'm not attributing this to Andy Lee or anybody else, by the way. That's just kind of how politics operates in Canada. And so Andy Lee, I didn't realize was, Jody, thank you for all the claps and the hearts and the Canadian flag. You guys are awesome. Tao, what's up, brother? Tao, I'm going to talk to you on Discord later on, by the way. So Andy Lee was a candidate for Wexit, which I didn't know. I thought she was just a journalist. And I don't say just a journalist. Like her focus was journalism. And I didn't realize that she was a political candidate in the past. But I asked her in our conversation, because I just wanted to know. I never asked her previously. I said, how do you know Tamara? How well do you know Tamara? And she said to me, I don't know her. I never really met her. And I just thought, I hope TikTok's not going to go out now. I'm charging it. It should be charging right now. Having a problem with the battery. Losing connection. So I asked her, and she said, I don't really know Tamara. Like, we've never met. We've only spoken a couple of times. And I just thought, I don't understand. Like, Tamara said you guys were friends. And the other thing is, the Wexit party was, 6 people? Right? 6 people plus all their candidates, maybe 8 people. And Tamara was either secretary or president. Me and Tamara talked about it quite a lot. And by the way, I had told her on the phone, I love you, Tamara, but this is not a real party. And she was resistant. And I think after a while she started to realize that there was something up there. And she was, at least she told me, she was getting ready to exit Wexit. This was shortly before the Freedom Convoy. Anyways, she. So I just I didn't know what to make of that, because how could you be a candidate in the Maverick Party and not know Tamara? I mean, it's Medicine Hat. It's a very pretty city. It's a much smaller community. Tamara's been a political activist for what, 20, 25 years? Tamara's been in what? She's been in Maverick, and this is why when they say, "Oh, she's a separatist," she was in Maverick. She was in. She had some role in, I think, setting up the initial Wexit, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. She was in the Conservative Party, UCP. I think she's UCP. Wild Rose as well. Like, so this is, that's why when they say, "Oh, she's this, separatist," like, what are you talking about, man? She's been part of the political establishment for 25 years. Now, this is not somebody who's trying to divide the country, right? Jennifer, hey, Banjo. Jen's awesome. She's got a great sense of humor. Don't ask. Anyways, I'll get to the rest of your comments in a couple of minutes. So, anyway, so that was one of the things that came up in the conversation. But again, like, I don't know. I'm not making any judgments. It could be that they just never really crossed paths and whatever. It was different from what Tamara at least inferred with me in Ottawa. But she also could have just been saying, yes, she's a friend in that, she's aligned and supportive of what we're doing, which could be as well, right? So I don't think there's necessarily anything nefarious there, by the way. So this conversation, this Twitter space, and I encourage you to listen at all. It's long. It was 5 or 6 hours long. I went to sleep at 3 a.m. and got a boom, boom, boom on my door at 5:30. So maybe that's also why yesterday's trip back home was not so great. Anyways, so later on, and it's funny that Jen is here. Like, there you go. It's either a simulation or the stars are in alignment. Jen, who is here right now, was in the chat, and she asked a question later on. I think it's at 5 hours, and somebody told me yesterday. I don't know why this came up, but at like 5 hours and 9 seconds or something like that. Because I was a little bit taken aback and, huh? What? I don't understand. Jen asked her, she said, Andy, after a little bit of a build-up about who Jen was and why she was concerned, and she says, I'm just going to ask you directly. Yes, she said, I just want to ask directly, do you work for the government? And what do you think the response would be? Put in the chat. What do you think the response would be? Like, if somebody asked me, do you work for the government? What do you think my response would be? Right? K9, stop it. Stop. That's you stop Future now with the goggles. So her response to Jen asking, do you work for the government? There's 3 options. There's yes, no, or dodge. And in many cases, but not always, this is how we sometimes get sucked into being binary thinkers. In many cases, not always, there's really only 2 answers, especially when it's a simple question like that, yes or no. A dodge becomes a yes. A dodge becomes yes, but I don't want to answer you. So when Jen asked her, do you work for the government? She responded with, I cannot confirm nor deny that. What? What? I was so confused. What do you mean? No. The answer is no. You do? I don't think so. I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. Like, I couldn't understand. And, a couple of minutes later, Joe Rampart, really summarized it quite effectively. Because I think a bunch of us were just a little bit shell-shocked with that response. We didn't know where that response came from and what the reason was and all that sort of stuff. Tao, CSIS, no, I don't think she's CSIS. No, I don't think so. But, that also does kind of infer that, well, maybe there's something more there. And what somebody explained to me after was that and this might be completely wrong, I don't know, and this doesn't mean it's necessarily something nefarious either, that she used to work for some U.S. senators on Canadian issues. I don't know how that works. And then she became a maverick candidate. And you can tell by the way she was speaking the entire time that she clearly has, I think, political ambitions, which, okay, fine. People have political ambitions. At least it sounded that way. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But it sounded that way. And, it was just... I'm still a little surprised. So Joe kind of... I think he did a good job articulating it in a very short form as to why that's a concern. I have this whole thesis that I'm going to be presenting to all of you over the next several months. The Big Con Canada Inc. and the network, not the Conservative Party itself, but a network of money, fundraisers, influencers who kind of work together, who dominate the narrative within the Conservative Party and ensure that no competition gets a foothold, and there are no grassroots movements that get a foothold, that everything is controlled by the OLO and the PMO and not PMO. The OLO and the Digicom of the Conservative Party, which I always thought was their biggest weakness, and they just won't drop it. They won't drop this strategy. It's really weird behavior as far as I'm concerned for any institution like that, especially in the modern age, the way communication works now. I've talked before about bi-directional media versus unidirectional media, and they're living in the past where bi-directional media no longer. Unidirectional media is no longer the case. But anyways, I cannot. She said, I cannot confirm nor deny that. It was just really weird. And then the next morning, Andy Lee put out a tweet that could have been interpreted a couple of ways. Some people, I think they didn't interpret it charitably. She said something to the effect of, when people turn against you. We're not honest with who they were. Some people took it as though it was the people in the room. I didn't, because you could tell she's torn on the inside. At least this is my interpretation of what is the truth of what happened around Freedom Convoy and the subsequent sabotage and propping up of people who really had no business being there, to be entirely honest. And she knows what happened. I mean, she's this great researcher, right? Like, she researches stuff all the time. So, and this is all public record. So it's not like she wouldn't know. And I think she's in a position where she's being forced to follow a narrative that she doesn't really believe in. I think. I could be wrong. But that's kind of what I saw. And so she posted this tweet, and that's what I thought she was referring to. I didn't think she was attacking the people in the Twitter space, whenever. I think she was just addressing that she believed in people over the last year, and she realized in our Twitter space, in our conversation, that maybe people weren't completely honest and forthright with her. That's how I interpreted it. But maybe that's my positive bias, right? But anyways, but then she, and I had responded something to that effect, that, we've all gone through that, where people we thought we could believe in, that we thought understood loyalty, let us down, and it just kind of happens. But then she deleted her Twitter account, which I thought was weird and was odd. Well, she didn't delete it. I think she paused it. She's done that in the past, recently, a couple of months ago. So I don't know. But I do sense, and I could be wrong, that she's really, really torn on the inside because she knows there's the truth of what occurred in Ottawa. And, she also has propped up, what's his name? Hurt Locker Tom. And some of the lying grifters. And I think she knows that. She must know it now, right? Since all this evidence has come forward from people like Chad and Chris Guerra and Joe and Bridget and a bunch of other people. If you're in TikTok, you see everything that's going on right now. And a lot of people are now clued in to what was going on. And whether they like Dichter or not, it sounds like Dichter wasn't the problem. So, okay. So I felt bad for her, and I hope she kind of sorts through it and comes back. And I hope she didn't. I thought she was pretty positive. She was honest in, especially the latter half, the last hour and a half. You saw some real honesty there, which was great. That's, we're all flawed. All of us make mistakes. We are all flawed creatures, and that's what makes us appealing in my mind. So I thought she did pretty good. I'm just was surprised that but if she's torn on the inside, I can understand the internal conflict, and that's why it is so important to always be honest and forthright and tell the truth, right? And you also see this. I just mentioned TikTok. People are sending me these videos. I mean, yeah, I'll watch a few of them, but most of them I'm just busy with other things. But of Chris Barber swearing at people and yelling at people, and it's F-bomb after F-bomb after. And the guy I saw, I haven't seen him in anything he does or whatever in months, but he looks like he's aged 20 years. And that's also another side effect when you're not being honest with yourself, because it's that incongruence of your soul, that your soul starts to rip yourself apart when you're not telling the truth and you're just parroting what people tell you to say when you know that's not the truth. And it might even have negative effects on yourself and other people. And, we've all known people that throw other people under the bus. If you don't have a buggy moral code, that is lethal. That will destroy you. It really will. And it's I almost feel bad for them. Some of them, it's just. But yeah, it's just. I don't know. I can see that sort of conflict with some of the people who have, I think, been forced or coerced to promulgate something that they don't believe in. And that is, for me, that would be psychological torture. And I think that's what's happening to these people. So I hope they get through it. But, the longer they continue to promulgate things that are not true, the more they're going to age, the more their soul is going to rip itself apart from the inside. And it's so much easier to sleep at night when you just tell the truth. Like, that's why when Chris Barber was on the stand, I couldn't believe it. And he referred to the Freedom Convoy with the word occupation. What the hell? That's a Trudeau word, and it's false. They use it for some very specific and powerful political reasons. And you parroted it. And then I think, I might be incorrect, but I think Wilson, I still don't understand how the lawyer was a witness. I don't believe a word he said about his excuse, but okay. He too referred to it as the occupation. And now I see True North. Guys, what the hell? They're doing a video. They title it The Freedom Occupation. Whose side are you guys on? Like, what are you doing? What do you do? And then, they'll try to be dismissive of it and all. We're just trying to be like, no. You know what you're doing because you understand marketing and communications and the specificity of certain words and the power that those words given the context. That's what marketing is. It's just so infuriating to see there's people who are on our side who defer to the word and the verbiage from the people who are trying to smear this beautiful moment that we had in Canada. So I don't know. It was really weird. Anyways, I hope they find some. I hope they find the fortitude and the internal strength to give up on telling mistruths and just speak the truth. It's going to be better for everybody. It's going to be better for their souls. It's going to be better for their families, because that sort of aggravation and agitation will spill over to their loved ones, because they'll see that the kind of internal stress that they're under, right? Did you see what the prosecutor did to Barber? They leaked all his private conversations to the media, including the ones with his lawyer. Yeah, I mean, they'd just be doing that to smear him, obviously, right? I mean, that's what media does. That's why we call them dirty smear merchants. It's a good thing nobody watches them, right? So it doesn't really matter. Aunt Beth says, I cannot confirm or deny. Well, that just means yes, unfortunately. And it doesn't always mean yes, but in this particular circumstance, I think that's what it means. And it's just really weird. It was just absolutely weird. But anyways, I hope they find the right path, because have I ever talked about the BJ curse? Have I ever told you about the BJ curse? A couple of my friends know about it. We used to call it something different, but it's this weird phenomenon. And I don't know, this is where I get on board with Elon Musk with the simulation theory and whatever. I don't know. It's just really weird. And it's gone through my entire life that no matter how much my life yo-yos and goes up and down, and that's just kind of the nature of my life. That's kind of how I like it. I like life to be exciting. Everyone who screws me, for some reason, their lives fall apart. Might not immediately after, might be 2 years after, but just weird stuff, and stuff that like I can give so many examples of it. Just that people that have knifed me in the back, and maybe because I just focus on positivity and I just kind of move on and just like, okay, well, I dodged a bullet and I don't want to be around that sort of negativity and that sort of negative space. But there's so many cases I know of it, just people's lives got completely crushed. So I don't know. Maybe manifestations and affirmations of positivity on my side sucks out the positive energy on their side, and they're left with all the negativity, and that's what spirals out. I have no idea. It's just this. I know that's a little woo-woo, but it is what it is. It's just really weird. So I hope they do the right thing. Another thing that came up in the Twitter space, I think I mentioned it, but it might have been somebody else. I can't. Sometimes you misremember things. And it was quite late. It was, like I said, I finally turned in just before 3 a.m. But the donations to the convoy. Hitchhiker, ouch. Occupation, non-self-aware people speaking make me cringe. Yeah, it's just really weird, man. Why would you do that? Why would you? It's just so weird. Anyways. So the donations came up, and I want to preface this first because this is not a matter of opinion. So those of you who watched the commission, you saw the hour before I testified, the commission presented its report to the public on where all the donation money went, inclusive of Bitcoin. And it explains at that time, the value was $800,000 approximately that went into the hands of 100 plus truckers. I'm not sure exactly how many Caribou and them managed to get out, but it was something around that. And they each got, I think, $8,000 each, which is not a lot of money when you're operating a truck and you have a month of downtime. That might cover 50% of your expenses, let's say, depending on how what kind of loads you're hauling, who you work for, all that sort of stuff. But anyways, so they explained everything an hour before I took the stand. That's why they didn't ask me about Bitcoin. They were going to ask me about it, but because the report was ready for presentation, there was no need to ask me for that in my testimony, which, okay, fine. So aside from the Bitcoin that was distributed to the truckers, and by the way, this is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of public record. The commission presented it as part of the public record. The affidavit was filed by Keith Wilson's agent, Norm Groot. He filed the affidavit with the escrow agent and the seed phrase, which is like the combination for the remaining Bitcoin. Because there's a multi-sig wallet. I'm not going to get too technical into it, but it's like, it's not one person who controlled the wallet. Well, not one person. There's multiple seeds. It's complicated. But anyways, the point is, it was all surrendered. Okay, so Bitcoin is part. $800,000 of Bitcoin gets to the truckers. Yay, they're happy. Finally, some money got to them. And so that is settled. And then the remainder, Nick was raided. And he... okay, sorry, I'm so many messages. Nick had his house raided, and that's how they got the remaining Bitcoin, because he had the remaining seed phrases. Okay, fine. So Bitcoin is dealt with. All the money that was donated, there was GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go. There was cash, and I don't know how that was dealt with, because at that point my ankle was broken, so I wasn't on the street to watch, could see what was happening, just kind of, and it's not my area to deal with anyways. That's why we had Chad, and I think Belford's wife took over recording the transactions, which was weird, but okay, fine. I don't know how that all worked. I mean, that's why you have a distribution of responsibilities, cockpit resource management, whatever. I'm the media and strategy guy. I'm going to work with my team. People who deal with finance, you'll deal with that team, and that's it, kind of sort of thing, right? All right. But did you know... let me ask you this. Of all the money that was transferred, it's all in escrow. Minus, as Chris Guerra explains, he had to pay from the donations he got $62,000 to fly in these lawyers, the lawyers from hell. I didn't realize that was on our dime. Like, oh my God. But anyways, so the rest of it went into escrow, and then the JCCF fundraised something like $5 million since the convoy. On the auspice of the truckers, protecting the truckers, we're going to defend them and all that sort of stuff. Did you know the only people who got any donations, the only people who profited, not that anybody's looking to profit, the only people who received any, let's call it fiat money, like money, dollars, were lawyers and political operatives? Did you know that? Only they got money? And some of them got a lot of money. Some of them did really, really well. So, but none of that went to any truckers. Did you know that? It's just really, and like, take me at my word that they follow this premise. They're running advertising campaigns to support the truckers, the Democracy Fund and the JCCF. They suck in all of this money, this donation money, and none of the truckers got any money. How does that make you feel? Just curious. Just tell me in the chat. What does that make you feel when you find that out? That your money that you donated under the pretense of that money's going to be getting to truckers, that money went to lawyers and political ops. And in this case, lawyers who are not representing myself, Chris Guerra, Chad Eros, Joe Jensen, Bridget Belton, Jason LaFace. There's a bunch of us. None of us are being represented with any of that donation money. How does that make you feel? A lot of people donated straight to the protesters. Yes, I think that's a lot of what the cash was on the ground. Like, people were walking around, just going to their bank account and taking $100 and just giving it to truckers here and there, the ones who are, depending where they were staged. So yeah, no, 100%. And that was great. I'm very happy that people did that. And for everybody who did, I'm eternally grateful. Like, thank you for doing that, right? Lisa, at the 5202 mark of the video is the Bitcoin stuff. Oh, yeah. That's Lisa has posted a link to the my testimony in the commission and before my testimony, because they start rolling it and it just sits there and does nothing until people come in the room. So at the 5202 mark, which was the tail end of presenting the financials, that's where they outline the Bitcoin. So that is a matter of public record, irrespective of what people want to say publicly or not publicly. I don't really care, right? Future now. On March 8th, 2022, BJdichter provided the escrow agent with his seed phrase for the multi-sig wallet. Yeah, I think that's what's written into the affidavit that's filed, right? So again, this is a matter of public record. This is not an opinion, which is really weird that people would make defamatory statements who are in the know, contrary to that. But we'll see how we deal with that in the near future. Not happy. Government and lawyers have the money tied up. Yeah, no. Listen, I agree. But the fact that, I don't know. I just really bothers me. It just kind of maybe that's just my perspective. Anyways. So that's where we're at. And I think what we're seeing, I think a lot of you have seen that. I've fielded so many questions from people who were, much like Diverge Media, who were skeptical of me and my story because it was just me telling it, right? Because I'm not part of any political apparatus, despite the fact that people want to paint me that way. My political party is the truth, right? And sometimes the truth is, it's difficult. It's like loyalty. Loyalty is difficult. And, from my perspective, it doesn't matter in my situation how much I get threatened. I don't abandon loyalty. I wish there was more of that. But what are you going to do? It is what it is, right? But I've been fielding so many questions over the past several weeks from people who are now digging into stuff and now realizing that it doesn't matter how many times Rebel News puts a talking head on, who had, as he says, under oath, I had very little to do with the convoy, and then when he's not under oath, it becomes his convoy and writing a book about it or whatever the hell he's doing. Irrespective of all of that, there's a lot of people that realize that, the receipts are on this side, and everything is provable. Everything is a matter of public record. And I sleep at night, and I don't think I've aged 20 years in the past year. Maybe I have. Maybe I look horrible. I don't know. But, it is what it is. And I've always been very weary of karma. And that's one of my driving factors of always to try to have a positive moral code. We all make mistakes. We all have failings. We all have flaws. I know what my flaws are. But when it comes to integrity, I try to bias towards integrity and, of course, freedom, right? So it is what it is. And Future Now, thank you for posting that. So, I forgot where the date was. That it was a crazy time in my life. All the days are still kind of blended together. I just the last thing I wanted to touch on with all of this is the process of moving forward, right? When I started this, I said, I hope this is the last time or one of the last times that we'll have to deal with some of the shenanigans. And I think it's important to address one thing as well. We hear this branding that's trying to come out of some people saying, oh, the divisiveness. I don't know what are people talking about, divisiveness? There's a bunch of outsiders who showed up who had really nothing to do with the convoy and who are politically tied. And then there's the rest of us. And we have our differences. We agree, disagree. I kind of always like arguing with salt of the earth people because they don't get offended when you yell at each other, and it's all kind of in jest. But we always resolve our different. I mean, a few different. There's not very many, but we're all still together like always did because this was such a profound moment in people's history that it changed their lives. So we'll always share that together, right? And that's why, I mean, some of you may notice I've spent many months trying to slowly reach out to people and get people together and on the same page again, which we kind of always were. We just weren't in regular communication. I wanted to try to put a damper on some of there are two people that really didn't like each other during Ottawa as well, and I was trying to dial that down a little bit. I was succeeding until recently somebody inflamed it unnecessarily, but I don't get it. But the point is, yeah, we all have different opinions, different views, but there's no divisiveness. We all shared this wonderful experience together. I hear the political actors using the word divisive because their political party's not in control. And they never will be, by the way. This is not going to be, this is not the property of a political party, regardless whether you support them or not. That's not what this was about, right? Tao, divisiveness, ask Marasso some honest questions and have him respond with accusations. Yeah, it's so funny how he does that. Can't answer a simple question. Okay, and in contrast, I've gone on some shows that, some of the questions, as Jordan Peterson said, some of the questions are a little uncomfortable, but whatever, who cares? Just answer it and move forward and everything works out, right? So, I don't know. And this is the struggle of having to live a lie. And this is also why it eats you from the inside. I think we all have this intrinsic need to speak honestly. Even if we get the facts sometimes incorrect, people misremember sometimes. Like, memory is not entirely reliable sometimes, and we get that. But as long as you understand and you believe you're doing your very best to communicate honestly with people, that gives you like a sense of solace and calm in your lives. That's why I'm generally pretty calm. Yeah, I get a little, passionate, but that's just who I am. But I'm on the inside, I'm pretty calm, right? Paula says, sorry, my freedom lovers, I have to jump out and go look after my grandbabies. Love you all. Paula, we love you too, and have an amazing day. And please cherish your grandbabies every moment that you have them. So anyways, all of these, the nonsense from the people politically captured and, running their mouths and trying to persuade people into attacking other people and whatever, that's all noise. It's all irrelevant noise. I tend to I really see very little of it. Like, it could be right in front of my face, so just kind of ignore it. Because I treat it like a bot, right? It doesn't have an impact on me whatsoever. But all of that, no matter what happened and no matter what comes forward in the next, few weeks, few months, whatever, year, whatever new information comes out to show that there was extensive political meddling, okay, well, of course, it was a global movement. Of course they're going to try to sabotage and capture and whatever. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we brought all of each other together, that we formed new friendships and new relationships. It changed so many of our lives, and it made so many people who were from Alberta empathetic to people who lived under the harsh circumstances in Quebec, because they were finally face to face and they could talk about it, right? And it was an amazing moment. And all the dance parties, I love that. I saw the salsa party. There was like different music on different corners. And that was, no one's ever going to take that away from us. So no matter what happens, no matter who gets exposed of if they had nefarious intentions or not or whatever, that's one thing. That's the political side of it. That's the noise. But don't let that taint this wonderful experience that, I'm going to do this, I've written about in this book, right? That's why there's very little of the meddling and political nonsense in there. There's just a couple of little data points, but this is all the good and positive stories. This is what we need to remember. This picture right in front, and how it changed all our lives, and how it gave us all hope. And I think it's also sent a message to the political class around the world that there's a line in the sand. And I think that's going to be to our benefit over the long term as well, right? So don't get down. But yeah, I had some people telling me, like, I'm really upset, I'm really annoyed, like, whatever, I can't take this much. I'm like, whoa, that has nothing to do with the Freedom Convoy, right? Political sabotage has nothing to do with this great moment in history. It was in the background. I was dealing with it. We were dealing with it behind the scenes. You weren't dealing with it. You were dealing with these amazing stories. So hopefully I won't have to talk much more about it. I'm sure we'll have to touch on it here and there, and I will. But not for the purpose for us to get angry. Just understand that this is the sort of thing that happens, that if you ever get involved in something like this, to just expect it. And it is what it is. But don't let them take away from this amazing moment. And this is what we got to teach the people moving forward. Tell me, K9 says, tell me the chapter. So, yeah, there's a chapter where there's a little kernel that is insinuated that explains, it's the ripple of, once you understand what happened there, then that explains all the political connections and the political motivations and why they were trying to meddle. Marcela, greetings from Chile. ¿Qué onda? No, ¿qué onda? That's Mexican. ¿Cómo está, weón? ¿Cómo estás? ¿En qué ciudad estás en Chile? No conozco ese país, pero tengo amigos que viven in... where the hell is Fresano living? You know what? No recuerdo entonces, nos hablamos en esto después y en el espacio de Twitter también. Anyways, it's going to be great. My Spanish is... I'm so rusty. It's going to take me a couple of Twitter spaces to get back into the flow of things. So, like I said, if you want to join and hear me crash and burn in Spanish, come join. Future Now says, Switz, get ready for transparency. I've got a list of questions as I sit down with lawyer Keith Wilson. Okay. Well, you'll have questions. You won't get any honest answers. I mean, who are you kidding? You're the mouthpiece. I mean, the best way I would describe that relationship is a pimp and a whore, right? So, all right, you want to go watch a pimp and a whore? Okay, fine. I don't really care. Marcela says, we want to learn from your experience and hopefully not suffer similar consequences. Soy de Santiago, al igual que Andrea. Listo, Andrea. Nos hablamos en eso porque hay muchas lecciones de la protesta en Canadá y la próxima vez podemos hacerlo mejor que antes. So, that's pretty easy. Okay, anyways, so I want you all just to have like the positive frame around all of this and to remember that irrespective of the noise of whatever the pimp and the whore are talking about, whatever that is, that's just noise. And that's the distraction to try to, I guess, reinforce some fake narrative or whatever. It's really weird. I don't really pay much attention to it. I've muted most of these people, blocked some of them, just because I don't really care. I have my own life beyond this great moment. I want to build upon this great moment and meet many of you and communicate with many of you, hear about your lives. I want to hear your stories about how your lives was changed by it and what you think we should be doing in the future. That's part of the reason Marcela and I and Dave are going to be doing a space in Spanish, because there are people who want to learn from our experience and they want to kind of relive it. But the people with the negative stuff, like, I don't know, like Future Now. I have a question. What did he do for the Freedom Convoy? Was he there? Was he even like? Anyways, whatever. It is what it is. I don't really care. Yeah, I want to get distracted with that stuff. I want to focus on all the good stuff for all of you. And Hitchhiker says, Marcella, hello from Canada. Marcella, how many people are you going to bring from Chile? And are we going to have to do something in real time, in real life, IRL, in Chile on the beach? Because don't twist my rubber arm. I used to know how to say that in Spanish. It's a different idiom, but I've forgotten. Horrible. Okay, so on locals, Beth likes my comment about more arable land. Amanda, I love you, Amanda. How you been? I haven't spoken to you for quite a while. I know you've been busy with work and stuff. Amanda is super cool. Angie P on YouTube writes, you can't have peace if you are living a lie. That is true. That is true. And peace and calm, right? Like, it's difficult to focus your energy on being good to other people and improving the lives of other people if you have this thing tearing your soul apart on the inside. It's just, it doesn't, it's not going to work. Soy amiga de Andrea. Listo. Feliz participación. Okay, great. Well, here, I'll put on, whoever understands that, you get an extra 5 points today. I have never seen this guy, Smith. I guess he wrote a kid's book. He apparently writes books for the Conservative Party or something and makes them look like kids' books or something, because they did another political book or something. Anyways, whatever. As far as I'm concerned, because I did reach out to him in the beginning about doing something together and supporting each other. He was great until he went to Ottawa to meet with the Conservatives and people from the Freedom Corp, one of whom might be a pimp. So this is the story for you, Marcela. Este no existe en español, pero mis amigos que hacen este libro, las gráficas y el libro y la sistema, ellos son de Venezuela y viven en Panamá. Entonces, hay muchos latinos que me ayudan con este libro. So, that's why it's an important story for us to share for the rest of the world. Sorry, I'll stop with the Spanish. I know you guys, nobody speaks Spanish, but I love the opportunity, and I need to because my Spanish really sucks now. It's absolutely horrible. Hi, Hitchhiker from Chile. All right, we're all getting together. Everybody's starting to love each other. I absolutely love this. Amanda, I've been good. You're super busy with life in general. Yeah, things are a little bit nuts right now. Anyways, I bought 3 of Smith's books, but choosing not to buy the... Yeah, okay, I agree. Sure. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Beth, you do what's right for you, and I love you dearly, and I thank you for always being here. And that's it. So the biggest lesson in all of this, like, I think you should all go listen to the Twitter space. It might give some insight into what I've been talking about. People who really get pulled and convinced that they have to help promulgate a narrative that helps people who I think are quite nefarious involved politically, and that's separate from the political parties, but they do, invade the space of the political parties. And I think you see somebody who's starting to crack under pressure, and I think that's good. I think that's good because it's good to eventually crack and then just say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I just need to tell the truth, or my soul is going to die inside. Now, that's not exactly what the conversation was, but if you kind of read between the lines there, you'll understand. Because it's just really weird. Like, I don't know, the response was just weird. But anyways, I hope she's well, and I'm sure she will be, as will everybody else. I don't wish any ill will on anybody. Is the space on your Twitter? No, the space was hosted by Dave O. I don't remember what Dave O's @ is on Twitter. But if you search him, he's got a Colombian flag and a Canadian flag in his profile. He's often talking with Joe Rampart and that whole group of people on Twitter. So if you go to his, you know what, Jesse, I have you on Twitter. I'll find it and I'll message you his profile, or if I can find you the link. Marcella says, Sonia, you should participate on the Twitter space Ben will have in Spanish with our friend Andrea. And, I can't guarantee, Marcella, that I won't have to break into a little bit of Spanglish once in a while. But I'm hoping we can make this a regular thing and communicate more frequently. Are you going to Miami for Bitcoin 2023? Good question. I was actually thinking about this week because I haven't been asked to speak this year. I spoke last year. I am going to be speaking at Bitcoin Canada. If I can, I would go. There's an issue in truck. What I wanted to do is take my truck, get a load down to Florida, and stay in Florida for a few days. Leave my truck at a friend's. I have a friend who's got a very large factory there. Leave the truck in the back of the factory, and then go back to Canada when I'm done. But there's some issues with insurance in Florida now. There was some big accident and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to drive down there. So I'd have to hop a flight and go down there. Or maybe drive my truck somewhere else in the States, hop a flight, go for a couple of days and come back. But maybe. Are you going to be going? Because if you are, then we will hang out together. Otherwise, we can do that in Canada, Bitcoin Canada. Cheryl, where in Florida? Florida, I have a rule about Florida. So the Bitcoin conference is in Miami. My rule has always been when I go to Florida, I want to be south, at the very least, of the 96 Causeway, and as few people who speak English as possible. That's kind of the charm of Miami. You can live in Miami and never have to speak English. And if you don't speak Spanish, you really can't work anything retail in Miami. And I remember when I was down there many years ago, some people were like, "Oh, people don't speak Spanish here anymore." And I'm like, "Did you not notice the name of the state? Florida. It's a Spanish word, means the blooming one. The reason it's called Florida is because they were here first. That it was Spanish territory that the United States purchased in, I think it was 1863, if I'm not mistaken. So Miami was always, that's why, and their economy is really tied into Latin America, not the United States. Fort Lauderdale is a little bit different. North of there is different, but Miami itself is. Can't go, have no time off. Okay, well, what about Bitcoin Canada? If you're going to be Bitcoin Canada in June, let me know. We'll do something there. Where in Florida? I have extra room. Cheryl, what do you mean you have extra room? You're in Florida? You're in Miami? Really? That'd be awesome. I also have to go see Mark Petroni, who's in Tampa, who's a good friend. And so I want to go down there and also either if I have the truck or if I rent a car, if I fly down, just drive across to Tampa. And anyways, Miami is awesome. Probably one of my favorite cities in the world. I just wish all the New Yorkers would get out and go back to New York, but that's just myself. No hate on New Yorkers. I love you too, but let's leave Miami to Floridians. Anyways, okay, so that is, I'm sure that just pissed off a whole bunch of people. So anyways, and just the last thing, have some empathy when you see people online who are trying to target and defame myself, other people who are involved in the Freedom Convoy who should have been on the same side but are not, or whatever. Just look at how they're aging, because it's tearing them apart on the inside. Their soul they're not being congruent with the truth, and they're suffering, and they're causing themselves to suffer, and that's on them. And at some point, hopefully, they will realize to switch bias over to the truth, and maybe that'll change for them. But don't get angry, don't hate, just maybe empathy, and let's be honest, it's a little sad, right? Also have to have a talk with Viva Miami in the Locals studio. Yeah, maybe. I'll reach out to his brother. Good idea. I should. Yes, I've been in Tampa and Sarasota, Anna Maria Island. All right. Oh, wait, that's I know where that is. That's close to where some people I know live. All right, we'll Cheryl, we'll talk. Maybe we can do like a little get together, go to a Flanagan's and just hang out. Flanagan's. We'll make Flanagan's the freedom fighter place in Florida, and it'll be awesome. We'll try for Bitcoin Canada, and my job is very hard to take off. I hear you, brother. We've all been there. That's why you become an owner-operator in a truck. When you want to take a day off because you had a really crappy day the day before, like this this person here, then you do it. But I'm going to have to get back to it very soon. I have so much work I got to do. Okay. All right. So Cheryl is now the freedom fighter representative for the state of Florida. Cheryl, you are now in charge. I have a number of friends who are connected to Mar-a-Lago who would be very, very interested in that and would actually be interested in attending something like that. So I'm no DB Productions. I'm a sister. All right. Well, I have a question for you. What is a woman? Do you know? I don't see a biology degree. Thank you, Ben, for pronouncing my name correctly. Your name, Marcela. How else would you say Marcela? I don't know, but my pleasure. Okay, I got to run. I got a ton of things to do. Thank you all for the love, and I'm sorry it was late today, but you're actually in Sarnia. Okay, Cheryl, what are you doing? You're killing me. Cheryl is all over the map. All right, well, we'll talk. I love you anyways. We'll figure it out. And Andrea will gladly be your representative here in Chile. Okay, well, we'll start the freedom, the Honking for Freedom movement in Chile. Do they know about this in Chile? You know, I was talking with Ellie about a timeline to translate this into Spanish so we could have it ready for a Spanish audience. So, I don't know. We'll be in touch and let's talk about it. And Marcella, if you're not following me on Twitter already, follow me on Twitter. I think my DMs are open, so you can send me a DM and I will look for you, right? With a double L, Marsella? Oh, okay. Well, all right. Anyways, I'm a Marcella. I get it. Okay, I got to run. I love you all, and I will talk to you all soon, whether you're in Miami, Chile, or Canada.